Oh yeah, Sexy Biscuits. Nice.
Longboard Bros, 1975. A using girls on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends. But Longboard Bros, 1975.
Hey YouTube, Longboys Post 1975. There's a question down there. More so, let's reminisce. I think those of us of a certain age, and who are passionate about video games, particularly retro games, will have this moment. Do you remember the first time, or can you remember the first time you walked into a game store as a child, and what eye opener it was, and how did you feel? Interesting question, because dependent upon how old you are and whereabouts you live within the world, it's going to be a completely different experience. For some people it's going to be like a department store, like John Lewis and stuff like that, when they have the big counters set up, particularly at Christmas, where you would see like the computers of your childhood or the consoles of your childhood set up, and that would be where you experience them for the first time. Or for other people, particularly myself, it would be that pokey little independent store that you got so much back in the day, mainly because obviously gaming back in the day, or programming, was done by people in their bedrooms, so it was kind of a more down to a basic experience. Independent stores were more widespread then. The reason I want to talk about this is I give a lift to a bloke at work every day when I work. Otherwise we won't work at the same place. Is it just me, by the way? It's just, sorry, random tangent. Do people who not drive not know how to shut a car door? I mean, boom, seriously, boom. It's like he's waking up my ancestors. Never mind. Yeah, and we drove by a corner shop by the roundabout at the bottom of, this means absolutely nothing to anyone, at the bottom of like North Street, where it connects to Dean Lane, and he goes, oh, that's a brilliant kebab shop. And I actually said a comment, he didn't get it. I said, I remember when that was a game store. And he goes, what? And I mean, like, really old school. I said to him, like, we're talking like the 80s. I said, in fact, and this is where this question stems from, I said, that's the first game store I ever went into. And he looked at me a little bit confused, like, what, are you mental? But yeah, that's why I want to ask this question, because we got a computer when I was a kid. My dad bought us a ZX Spectrum to share, 48K rubber mat, beast, best computer in the world ever. But you know where I stand on the spectrum, to share with my brothers. His idea was we were going to be programmers and it would be his retirement plan, but we basically just found out that, oh my god, you can play games and allegedly tape them, tape to tape, on your dad's hi-fi centre once you borrow them off kids at school. And yeah, and it was absolutely fantastic. And you got to feel sorry for my mum, because she had 3 boys. She was brilliant. She took us to the cinema on summer holidays and stuff like that, but she was very, very good. I had a fantastic child and I love it, but she would take us to these places. She didn't understand it or get what our fascination was with this little rubber mat thingy, but she would take us, we'd save up our pocket money and stuff like that, and people would give us money at Christmas or for birthdays and stuff, and we would, want to buy a game. We read magazines, As I said, I've never went to a department store back in the day, and my only experience of games or stuff, that came with the system, or my dad, sourced through like his mates at work and stuff like that, and what we saw in magazines. So it was a really, really big deal when my mum found this shop, and I think it was called, I could be wrong, anyone else in Bristol by all means correct me, and it moved over the road and moved back, and I think it was called Personic Computers. And she found this place, and she was like, oh, you're into your computer, oh bless you, learn to program so me and your father can retire. And she took us there, me, my twin brother and my older brother, and I can still remember the smell. Probably smells better now as a kebab shop than it did back then. It was just this really kind of library-esque smell. And it wasn't a massive store. It was probably, I don't know, 5 times as big as this room. And I just remember walking in with my brothers and just like, it was just one main divide down the middle with tapes all down one side and tapes all down the other side. And then a couple of shelves behind the counter with like hardware and stuff on, which blew me away. Like, seeing stuff other than your system in a store was your first sort of real exposure to other formats and stuff, other than arguing with mates at school. And there were shelves across the wall with all these tapes, and like a BBC, Electron, a Commodore and a Spectrum area, and the divide down the middle, one side was nothing but Spectrum tapes. And I still remember oohing and ahhing between, what was I bought? Halls of the Things, which is an absolutely terrible game, but oohing and ahhing between that and Barry McGuigan Boxing. And yeah, it was the most amazing thing ever in the world. Me and my brothers, we just walked into it and went, oh my God, there is a God. You know, this is heaven. And like I said, it smelled like a library, and it was just all day. We just, my mum must have been so fucking bored, because we must have been in there for 2 hours just picking up, because you had like £7 to spend, and games were still expensive back then, mind. Even some stuff back then in like the early 80s was like $14.99. Thank God it came with those massive cardboard boxes, or I would have felt really ripped off. Yeah, and we were just there just picking up, read, put back, pick up, read, pick up the same one again, compare, put back, do I, don't I, do I, don't I. Oh, decisions, I'm a child, I can't make decisions. And it was just, I just remember this store being, you know, absolutely amazing. Maybe so because it was the first one I ever went into, but it was just a whole new world. Like, this is a store and all it sells is games. I mean, wow. That's amazing. That blew Ickle Dave's mind, because you got to remember at this time, you know, high street stores like WH Smith and Boots had very, very small sections of games, like, you know, Commodore and Spectrum and Amstrad and stuff. But to walk into a store for the first time as a kid, and that's what they did. You know, that's all they did was games, computers, and peripherals. Was just an absolute, you know, mind blowing. I mean, you know, it may sound like I'm reminiscing over something completely stupid, but I'll never ever forget that store. And it was just funny when we drove by it this morning and he said, oh, it's my favourite kebab shop, and I was just like, I remember when that was a game store. And it, like, I hadn't thought about this place in years, and it just went click. As soon as he, you know, pointed out that building, my brain made a connection with that building and just went, I remember when you were Pasonic Computers. So, you know, do you remember the first time you went, you know, as a child, into a game store, and how did you feel? I'd really like to know. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you later.